Welcome to the Unbiased Press. I'm Casey Carroll, and today we will be talking about the most recently signed One Big Beautiful Bill. Before we begin, please make sure you like and subscribe. With that being said, here are the facts. President Trump signed the One Big Beautiful Bill on July 4th as part of his Independence Day celebration. The bill narrowly passed the House and the Senate despite a few Republicans refusing to support the bill. The law was a massive piece of legislation that will likely be the most significant legislation passed in Trump's second term. The law has numerous points, including making the 2017 tax cuts permanent, increasing the standard deduction to $15,750 for single and $31,500 for joint filers, which would increase according to inflation after 2025. There would be additional funding for immigration enforcement, a substantial $170 billion, additional funding for national defense, $150 billion, additional deduction for seniors, $6,000 deductions for seniors 65 and up, which expires in 2028, in addition to deductions for tax on tips and overtime pay, which also expire in 2028. This law increases state and local tax deductions from $10,000 to $40,000, and that would return to $10,000 after 5 years. This was in response to Republicans from high tax states such as New York and New Jersey who wanted this deduction in the law. The child tax credit, which currently is at $2,000, would increase to $2,200. It would decrease spending on Medicaid and food stamps, and it would decrease spending in these areas by instilling tougher eligibility requirements. Additionally, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act raises the debt ceiling by $5 trillion. Additionally, clean energy tax credits that were put in place by the Inflation Reduction Act will be phased out by 2028. Supporters point to the benefits to people's pockets, while critics argue these tax cuts favor the wealthiest of Americans and will result in the loss of Medicaid coverage for millions of people. Critics, including members of the Republican Party, point out the national debt will increase by trillions of dollars. Supporters of this law argue that the growth in GDP because of these tax cuts will offset the deficit growth. Here is the history. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was the most significant legislation passed in Trump's first term. It cut tax rates across the board, decreased business taxes, doubled the standard deduction and child tax credit, along with eliminating the individual mandate of the Affordable Care Act. These tax cuts were set to expire in 2025, in addition to the child tax credit and the standard deduction. The One Big Beautiful Bill makes these permanent, preventing tax rates from increasing next year. The new law also undoes some of the Inflation Reduction Act, which was signed into law by President Biden in 2022. The law created numerous tax breaks in buying electric vehicles and other environmentally friendly technology. The One Big Beautiful Bill phases out many of these by 2028. In related news, Tom Tillis, a Republican senator from North Carolina, announced that he is not running for re-election in 2026. This is due to his rift with Trump over his refusal to support the bill, citing its cuts to Medicaid. With Tillis not running for re-election, this makes an already competitive seat even more competitive going into the midterms. Rand Paul of Kentucky and Susan Collins of Maine also did not vote for the bill, citing the effect on the national debt and cuts to Medicaid respectively. In the House of Representatives, Thomas Massey of Kentucky and Bryant Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania voted against the bill as well. That concludes our time here today. Once again, please make sure you like, subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to put those down in the comment section below. With that being said, see you next time on the Unbiased Press.